Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. As you can see, I am in a hotel room right now. I'm on the road giving a speech tonight, the case for Israel on this 2-year anniversary of that very dark day, the October 7th massacre. It's a shame in a sense that we even have to give the case for Israel, but folks, we need to give it now more than ever before. As I come to you, again, 2 years since the massacre, and I'd like to know where you were on that day. Where were you? It's one of those history-changing moments. I remember where I was on 9/11. I remember where I was when Reagan was shot in 1981. I was just a little guy, but I remember where I was. I remember where I was on October 7th, 2023. Where were you? Let's start with that. Just leave the comments. Where were you when you heard? What was your reaction? How did you feel? How did it impact you? Let me know off the bat, because to me, this is, again, a history changing, a pivot point, a history defining moment. The world was never the same. And I knew on October 7th, I knew prophetically as well, we were going into overdrive, but the world has never been the same since October 7th. Now, it changed for good after 9/11, of course, and then October 7th was another one of those pivot points where things haven't been the same. So where were you? I'll get into that a little bit, but we're commemorating, at least I would think, most of the viewers of this channel and myself certainly. It's a somber day. I'm talking to friends in Israel today, just saying, hey, how are you doing? How are things going? How are you feeling? I know it's a tough day. And it comes, of course, during Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, which is a festive time in Israel. It brings the high holidays, Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. It brings them to a close. It kind of closes with a flourish. Everyone builds sukkahs or booths or tabernacles, maybe on the deck of their house. It's a festive time. They eat under the booths, just like Israelites did 3,500 years ago in the desert when Moses was leading them. That's what the Feast of Tabernacles commemorates. It's a God-ordained and God-commanded holiday. So you would think it would be a festive time, and yet, if you remember, the massacre occurred 2 years ago today on the final day of Sukkot, Simchat Torah, a very holy day, and Hamas chose that day to attack. It was on a Saturday as well, Shabbat, 6:30 in the morning, people in bed on a holiday. You know the rest. But we're commemorating all of that, and we're seeing how far Israel has come. I said the world's never been the same. 2 years on, we'll talk about where we are and how far Israel has come, and just the incredible service Israel has done to the world in smashing Hamas and Iran's terror axis. But in the meantime, others are also marking this date. And for me, it's a very somber day, of course. And for anyone who loves freedom, it's a somber day. And if you're a Bible believer, certainly it should be a somber day and a very sad day. But it's a day of jubilation around the world for many. Folks, there are pro-Hamas, that's what they are. They're not pro-Palestinian demonstrations. These are pro-Hamas rallies. And we're seeing them. Gives you an idea of the demonic state of things in the world right now, and the rampant wickedness. We're seeing these rallies throughout the world today on the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th attacks, from Western cities, Europe, of course, to Australia, to Jakarta, Indonesia, around the world, even Japan. There was apparently some pro-Hamas rallies today, and they're pretty large. And by the way, over the weekend, we had a very large one in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So this is really happening. Talk about an insult and salt in the wounds. On the day of the worst massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust, you have tens of, maybe hundreds of thousands around the world in these large rallies in major cities calling for more carnage, calling for a genocide against the Jewish people. That's really happening today. And again, the state of wickedness in the world right now, and I say it often, I'll repeat it now, the prophet Isaiah talks about times where good is called evil and evil is called good. Think about that for a second. Good called evil and evil good. Welcome to 2025. Speaking of which, the Houthis, we have these demonstrators, is a kind word to describe them. I call them the pro-Hamas orcs. But they're marching around the world. But at the same time, you've got violent jihad on the October 7th anniversary as well. with the Houthis launching a drone swarm at Israel, Iran's supreme leader boasting on this day. Ayatollah Khamenei, again, this is a day of great victory for jihadists. They see October 7th as a seminal moment in their movement. So we'll talk more about that. What's happening today and what's the latest with Hamas? What about Gaza? What's going to happen? President Trump's peace plan, it's on the table. Negotiations ongoing in Egypt right now. Could we see by the end of Sukkot even? And Sukkot, I believe, ends, Sunday. Don't quote me on that. I think it's Sunday. Either Sunday or Monday is the final day of Sukkot. It's about a week-long holiday. Could we see the hostages, the remaining hostages, some 48, I believe, released by the end of this week? Is it possible? And 20 at most probably are still alive. And then the remains of 28 others. Could we see that? Talk about a celebration. I talked about Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, historically being a time of celebration. Talk about a reason to celebrate. Could that happen? So we'll break that down. But first, before we dig into it, two things real quick. Number one, if you like what you're hearing, it's current events, breaking news, mainly from Israel and the Middle East, but we go around the horn, around the world, and from an unapologetically biblical perspective. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. You know, since October 7th, especially, the channel has really expanded, and God has done that. You have done that by subscribing. We're so appreciative, but God has done that because the message of truth in times, as I mentioned a minute ago, where evil is on the rise, we're cutting through the clutter with truth. Imagine that. And firsthand truth. I'm on the ground in Israel on a frequent basis. I'm talking to Israeli leaders. I just sat down with Prime Minister Netanyahu for an hour about a month ago. So I'm in DC frequently. So we're on the cutting edge here. We've got our ears to the ground and we're bringing you the truth. This is a channel you can trust. And I hear that a lot. You know, I like you, Stakelbeck, because I can trust you. There's no beating around the bush. We don't mince words. And we're going to give it to you straight. So if you like that, join close to 1.1 million subscribers for such a time as this at this channel. Join us here, subscribe every day, Watchmen and Women on the Wall. And when I think of the heroes of October 7th, I think of Magen David Adom. They're our partner for today's live stream. And look, you've heard me talk a bunch about Magen David Adom, and for good reason. They are Israel's emergency services system. They collect, distribute the blood supply in Israel to the IDF and civilians. They I don't want to say control, but they kind of direct Israel's ambulances where they go. So yeah, I guess they do control them, but they direct where Israel's ambulances should go. They are Israel's first responders, EMTs, medics, first responders on the ground. And on October 7th, they were in the belly of the beast, quite literally. When October 7th happened, Magen David Adom's brave volunteers ran. They didn't run away. They ran to the danger. This is what they do. Over 30 Magen David Adom volunteers have been killed since October 7th. Some 17 ambulances lost. And they're doing it for free. Again, it's a volunteer force. Israel's emergency services system. They respond to every call. Houthi drones and rockets, Iranian missiles, stabbing, car ramming, October 7th, you name it. Magen David Adom is there. They're the first ones there on the ground. It is SaveLivesIsrael.com. SaveLivesIsrael.com. They're putting their lives on the line. And 90% are volunteers of Magen David Adom's brave team. And folks, on this 2-year anniversary of October 7th especially, man, if you're frustrated and you're looking around and saying, how can I support Israel? How can I stand with Israel? What can I do? I can't get to Israel. What can I do? This is a great way to do it, to fulfill that biblical mandate laid out in Genesis 12:3, to bless the people of Israel. It's SaveLivesIsrael.com. You will not regret it. Magen David Adom is a fantastic, important, God-ordained organization. Okay. One organization that is not God-ordained, it is satanically inspired, is the Houthis in Yemen. Now, this Iran-backed terror outfit has been struck time and time again by the United States and by Israel. About a month and a half ago, Israel essentially took out a good chunk of the Houthi leadership with airstrikes in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a, and yet the Houthis keep at it. And today, on the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th massacre, the Houthis, right on cue, launched a swarm of drones at Israel. Let's read more here from the Times of Israel. 4 explosive-laden drones launched by the Houthis in Yemen were shot down by Israeli air defenses near the Red Sea resort city of Eilat within an hour today. Within an hour time span, 4 drones, a swarm of them. Eilat is the southernmost city, of course, in Israel, a beautiful resort town right there on the Red Sea. And the Houthis have targeted Eilat many times. Look, last month we talked about this, where a Houthi drone had a direct hit in Eilat. Over 20 people were wounded. And it's a constant thorn in the side for the people in southern Israel and Eilat, these swarms of not only Houthi missiles, but Houthi drones. And look, to give you an idea, you might say, who are the Houthis? Funny name, yes. But they're kind of, when you look at Iran's Ring of Fire, which is now a smoldering heap of ruins, the Houthis are kind of the last man standing, right? Hamas smashed, Hezbollah licking its wounds, silent. The Iraqi Shia militias, silent. Assad in Syria, gone. The Houthis are kind of the standard bearer right now for the Ring of Fire. And they've been hit, and they've been hit again, yet they're still firing drones and missiles and rockets. And people might say, how is this happening? And they're still harassing shipping in the Red Sea as well. It's a global problem. The Houthis aren't just Israel's problem. They are a global problem, folks. And people say, well, how is this happening? Well, number one, Yemen is a vast, mountainous, rugged, desert terrain. Very rugged. And look, there's a lot of hiding places. You can literally, if you're a Houthi jihadi, emerge from a cave, fire off some drones, and run back into the cave, or even roll out and launch a missile. And you can go back to your hiding spot, your hole. That's what Israel and the free world are facing. So it's going to be tough to completely destroy the Houthis without some form of boots on the ground. Now, hold on a second before I'm misquoted and called a warmonger. I'm not suggesting an invasion of Yemen. That's not what I'm saying. Far from it. What I meant by boots on the ground is a special forces or commando type operation with some elite soldiers, Israeli presumably. If the U.S. wants to join in, by all means, because the Houthis have consistently threatened American shipping. That affects me as an American. It affects you really no matter where you live in the world when a crucial waterway like the Red Sea is choked off by this terror group. But is there some sort of commando raid or what have you to target Houthi leadership? That seems to be the only way. And the Houthi decision makers who are left, who weren't killed by Israel last month, that seems to be the only way. Cut the head off the snake. So we'll see if that happens, because what I'm saying is this: it seems that airstrikes alone aren't working. They're having a massive impact. But if the goal for Israel is to end, I mean to cease all fire from Yemen, drones, missiles, rockets, then I expect that the IDF may have something up its sleeve in the days, weeks, months to come, where maybe there is some sort of ground. When I say ground, I'm talking a limited amount of special forces in the dead of night. They get in and they get out. That's what I meant. Not an occupation or an invasion. I don't want to be misquoted by the anti-Israel forces. Far from it. But something in and out. And maybe you decapitate the remaining Houthi leadership, something like that. Does that do the trick? We shall see, because it's intolerable for Israel, especially on the 2-year anniversary of October 7th, for Israelis to be running the bomb shelters still and taking cover from Houthi rockets. And many times it's in the dead of night. We're talking 2:30, 3 a.m. Israelis are scooping up their kids and running the bomb shelters because of incoming Houthi missiles and drones. It's unsustainable. It's intolerable. And I have a pretty good feeling that once Israel settles things up in Gaza, because the Houthis aren't going to stop. This is what they do. This is all they know how to do: maim, murder, destroy, cause mayhem, because they're satanic. It's another arm of this Nazi death cult. If you doubt, here's their slogan. The Houthis' official motto. Folks, wrap your heads around this. Quote, death to America, death to Israel, a curse on the Jews. Wow, they sound really reasonable. We're not. But they're not going to stop. So once the hostilities cease in Gaza, I think you'll see Israel really try to deal a decisive blow in Yemen. What it looks like, I don't know. But I think that day is coming. Israel has focused on Yemen to a degree, but it's taken a back seat to Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Iran itself, of course, the 12-day war back in June. But a day of reckoning is coming for the Houthis, where I believe Israel will be able to reach a point. And again, perhaps American help. I think everyone should help, because this is a global problem. It's affecting global shipping coming through the Red Sea, affecting every country, especially Western countries. Everyone has a stake in this. If the Houthis are shutting down maritime traffic and hijacking ships, it's unsustainable. It's intolerable for the entire free world. But of course, as always, Israel is doing the world's dirty work for it, with little fanfare and with no pats on the back or congratulations. Which brings us to Gaza. Now, 2 years on from October 7th, the free world should be thanking Israel profusely for what it's done. What has it done? Well, number one, it has smashed Hamas within an inch of its life. And this is the same Hamas, I'm speaking from an American perspective, that's killed hundreds upon hundreds of American citizens. It's done the same, Israel, to Hezbollah. It has smashed Hezbollah. This is the same Hezbollah that slaughtered 243 brave U.S. Marines in 1982 or 83, I'm sorry, the Beirut barracks bombing. So there you have it. This is the same Israel that led to the collapse of Bashar al-Assad, a butcher, although what's in Syria right now is worrisome as well, and we've discussed that a bunch. But this is also the same Israel in the past 2 years, with help from the United States, considerable help, of course, from U.S. B-2 bombers, those beautiful B-2s, as President Trump says, destroyed Iran's nuclear weapons facilities. In each case, and eliminated Islamic Revolutionary Guards core leaders, Iran's nuclear scientists, eliminated Hamas, Hezbollah leadership. In each case, in severely, severely weakening, even embarrassing Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian regime, and the Houthis too. I mean, the Houthis are still firing, but they've been slammed pretty hard by Israel. They're just insane and they're evil. That's why they keep firing, because evil is relentless and evil doesn't get the memo. That's why evil needs to be completely crushed. That's what the Allies did in World War II to the Nazis. That's what needs to be done to Hamas and the entire Iranian Ring of Fire. Crushed decisively, end of story. Or they'll keep firing and keep attacking. That's how this works, folks. That's what history has shown us. But the world should be thanking Israel. Thank you. You did the dirty work, Israel, because those Iranian nukes would have been fired at Europe, no doubt. Would have been fired at Saudi Arabia, not fired, aimed, maybe fired, God forbid one day, but certainly aimed, I should have said, aimed at America. Look, Iran is working on intercontinental ballistic missiles that could reach the United States. Aimed at Europe, certainly, aimed in the region, Saudi, other nations, Arab Muslim nations in the region. They should all be thanking Israel every day. And they should be thanking Israel. The thanks, are they retroactive? Because they really stretch back to 1981 when Israel destroyed Saddam Hussein's nuclear reactor, and 2007 when Israel destroyed Bashar al-Assad's nuclear reactor. So congratulations are in order for Israel. But that's not what we're getting, as I said at the top. The state of play of Iran's Ring of Fire is that it is a mess. It's been smashed. And now Iran is running to the arms of nation states because it saw that its proxy strategy only got it so far. The terror groups had a shelf life. They could stir things up and then some, as we saw on October 7th, of course. But at the end of the day, if you're not a nation state, you can be in pretty short order. Once Israel put its mind to it, it smashed Hezbollah and Hamas. So you're seeing Iran now cleave to nation states. China, Russia, and North Korea more and more closely. Now, 3 of those 4 nation states are nuclear powers. The 4th, Iran, aspires to be a nuclear power. And folks, prediction on this October 7th, that you haven't seen the last of Israel and Iran going toe-to-toe because the Iranian regime is already trying to rebuild its ballistic missile stockpile. And it is already trying, it would love to restart the nuclear program. And President Trump's watching that closely. Israel's watching that closely. So stay tuned. I would not be surprised by the end of this year if we see some kind of strike there in Iran. Maybe not. But I can tell you this, that Israel has drawn a red line, and President Trump has as well. And they're saying Iran restarting the ballistic missile program, the nuclear program, it's a non-starter. We're not going to allow it. So you do the math. So things can be tied up in Gaza, or I should say wrapped up soon. But the head of the snake, the head of all the heads of the snake, I mentioned the Houthis earlier, is the Iranian regime. And they still, again, they're not grasping the new reality of things, that they are severely weakened. Their ballistic missile program, their ballistic missile launchers, their nuclear program, their military leadership, their nuclear scientists. I mean, they're severely weakened. Their economy is in tatters to the point where the regime announced this week that they're going to move the capital from Tehran to points south because of the water shortages and the electricity shortages in Tehran. Folks, I pray it's only a matter of time before the people in Iran rise up against their oppressors. That's the prayer, against the tyrants in Tehran. The Iranian people are the main victims. But to give you a sense of Iran not recognizing the moment, today Ayatollah Khamenei said that Israel is now the most hated nation in the world, and he gloated and he boasted about what a great day October 7th was, etc., at which the Iranian regime had its fingerprints all over. So if you thought the Iranian regime was going to change its spots, fat chance. This jihadi leopard will not change its spots. So this is where we are 2 years on from October 7th. And again, where were you? I can tell you where I was. So we're in a good place in that the Iranian axis has been smashed and Gaza seems to be, look, here's the deal, folks, bottom line. You should be encouraged because either way, this marks the end of Hamas. Either Hamas accepts President Trump's peace plan, which again, Prime Minister Netanyahu's agreed to, practically every Arab and Muslim nation outside of Iran supports, and that peace plan would see Hamas disarm, surrender, lay down its weapons, hand back every hostage, and have no longer any role in leadership in Gaza. And most likely, many Hamas members would be exiled and leave Gaza. Either they accept that, which is effectively the end of Hamas, or they say no, and they dig in and they refuse to surrender. President Trump made very clear before the eyes of the world last week at the White House, alongside Prime Minister Netanyahu, that Israel has his full blessing to destroy Hamas if Hamas rejects this deal. It's a take it or leave it offer. This is Hamas's final chance to come out of this with its lives intact. Not that they deserve it. But either way, do the math, Hamas is done. So then what? As we move on here 2 years from October 7th, you still have Iran lingering. You're going to have Iran try to rebuild Hezbollah. Gaza, that ship has sailed. I think that ring on the ring of fire, that's done, that's sailed. Hezbollah still dangerous. Quiet, licking their wounds for the past nearly a year now, well, about 11 months, but still dangerous. And Iran, again, getting closer to powerful friends. I call it the Gathering Storm Coalition. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, modern day gathering storm. Turkey, looking to fill a vacuum, certainly. Syria, Jihadi government, big problem, aligned with Turkey, potentially a big problem. Already it's been a big problem for the religious minorities there, Christians, Druze. Keep an eye on that. And then Egypt. Why the military buildup in Egypt these past few years? Look, Israel obviously has a peace treaty with Egypt, but Egypt is the most populous Arab nation. Some have said over the years, as Egypt goes, so goes the Middle East. So we're watching all of these things on the 2-year anniversary of October 7th. But man, oh man, how the landscape of the region has changed, and really the world has changed. And one of the most encouraging in that Iran weakened, its axis weakened, discouraging to see the rise of anti-Semitism and anti-Israel venom, including right here in the streets of the West where I'm sitting. But know this, none of this is a surprise. The Bible's very clear. Look at Zechariah 12:3, where Jerusalem, a day is coming, God says, where Jerusalem will become like a burdensome stone. The entire world will come against it and be cut to pieces. A cup of trembling, the Bible calls Jerusalem. So you're in the days. We live in Bible times, prophetic times. All of the chess pieces are moving on the board. Things went to overdrive, I believe, in October 7th and its aftermath. I've called them the October 7th wars that Israel's had to wage against Iran and its proxies. But know this, you're in a prophetic moment. So what do? We pray. Pray for those hostages to be released this week, folks, as soon as possible, intact, alive. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem right now, especially on this day. Pray for everyone who's lost loved ones. 1,200 murdered on October 7th. Prayer works. We've got mighty intercessors on this channel. Really appreciate you joining me. I'm going to speak tonight at a large church and make the case for Israel. And you would think, wow, after October 7th, it seems like an easy case to make, but no. We have not only the radical left, but radical Islamists, globalists, and the so-called woke right, some have called it, the Tucker Carlsons, the Candace Owens, piling on Israel and the Jewish people on a daily basis with very flawed theology to boot. So we're going to continue to speak out here more than ever and be bold as lions. So keep it right here. Thanks so much for joining us on this fateful day. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.